Sirise, my name is Mudinda Mbewana, and welcome to the Chosen Generation. Today we are talking about Mjolo, the pandemic. Should we date in the church? And if so, how should we do it? Today I'm joined by three distinguished guests who are going to help us unpack this issue. First, I'm joined by the twins, because there's courtship and dating. So, we have Lunga and Linda Hoji, right? And we also have in our midst Joy Lupia, who will also help us unpack this issue. But don't feel like we're leaving you behind. You can also have your say on this issue. The hashtag is TCG on SID. Let us know what you think about this issue. It's now time to get into the conversation.
I think so. I think that's the only way. Remember, there are different types of dating. There's group dating, there's one-on-one dating. So I think it's a way of getting to know somebody better, even if it's just the two of you. So I think, yes, it is necessary.
That is, so within an Adventist context, finding a partner who is firm in the Adventist faith and identifies as an Adventist.
Good dating is obviously doing things the way the Bible tells us to do it. If you're going to date somebody, you can't touch somebody or do any other thing if you guys are not married. And then the bad of dating, I think, is doing what we shouldn't be doing, the wrong things, like fornication, all those other adultery, all the other things.
So I think I'll start with you, Lunga. I want to know about your experience with regards to dating in the church. But maybe before that, as a precursor, you can maybe differentiate between dating and courtship according to your view, what that is, and then you can tell us what your experience has been in the church.
Dating, okay. It's a nice one. The precursor, it's fine. Experience in dating, we'll go that next. Then the difference between dating and courtship. Yeah. I think from what I was taught, we used to have, back then when I was young, I think parents tried to do this. They used to teach us, first have a circle of friends, then court, and then after courting, then we'd go to marriage. Okay. But they never really explained dating. Then one would then now want to explain what would courtship be. So dating would be like, and kind of informal, but courtship would now be, now I've met this person, I'm working towards marriage. So it's always a step. So back then, they never spoke of dating or mutual. These, I think, are new terms and things like that. But I think that would be the difference between courtship and dating. Dating was are we really serious? But courtship, now there's a decision made. Now I want to work towards something. This is my partner, things like that. That's how I'd explain it. And my experience of dating the church, I think I must first say, luckily or fortunately, I've not had much experience in the church. It's scary though, with parents who met in the church.
I don't trust people who start with that disclaimer.
Why? You know why? I think, I've personally have not been comfortable with dating in the church or anyone in the church. Though if anyone would ask me, any young person would ask me now, I'd tell them in the church, I'd say, stick with people in the church. Okay. Though I think I've not done it. I think I've not done 2 or 3 or less than that. But it's strange. I've had parents in the church who are now married for over 30 years, and they started courtship in the church, got married and everything like that. But why you ask me, why have I not done it? I think my experiences have been fun. Most of successful dates or marriages have been, I think, those who have met at camps. And now these are not the same people who are in local churches. Local churches dating has never been successful. Like, it's not a lot of times I've seen those making it through. So from my observation, it's been those who've met in camps, those have done well. But there's also marriages that have been successful where someone met someone, someone's been in the church and then found someone outside of the church. And then you've had those have been wonderful also. Because the ones who've met in the church, we've had many stories about them. It's the ones who went and found a partner outside, those have been also inspirational. Because why also am I saying that you've always learned, or in the church you're taught, don't be unequally yoked.
So you see, you are going very deep, but we are coming there. Yeah. I just want to put in Joy here.
Joy.
Joy, I need you to speak about the process. As you see it from your perspective, what is the process that should be followed in the ideas?
No, you know what I've seen anyway is young people tend to follow what they've learned outside of the church.
Okay.
You know, there are prescriptions. We're taught how to do certain things, but anyway, the current generation doesn't really follow that line of suggestions. You know, they will ask each other out, and they will go out and meet and do all sorts of things, just how they've seen it done in the world.
Okay.
You know, or what they've seen in the movies, and that is what's informing a lot of young people.
So you don't see any difference between how it's done outside and how it's done in the church?
I've seen a few people try the church way, and then the general population just does what everybody else is doing.
What is this church way that you're talking about?
The courtship, like he
Oh,
explained,
okay.
you know, where it's like you when you go public with your relationship, it's like we're heading toward marriage. This is an official thing, and people know about it, and people respect that. You know, mostly what I've seen is where it's kind of hush hush, like it's like a secret everybody knows when you're dating, and it doesn't seem that formal. It just seems like you two are trying to get to know each other. You know what dating looks like. It's different when you see courting, because it seems more serious. There's a seriousness to it that you just have to respect, even if you don't know the people that well. It seems more committed. It seems more reverent, if I can use that word. I don't think I should use that word, but there seems to be a difference, anyway, in my opinion, between people that I know that are dating in church and people that are courting in church. There's a marked difference that I've noticed, anyway.
So maybe, Linda, I can bring you in here. Nobody wants to speak about I guess you guys have a modern view of dating, but and courtship, but traditionally there was always an involvement of pastoral counsel. What are your views on that? Should we have pastors who come and pray for you before the date and they give approval? Stay away from this young lady. Or what is your view on that?
I hear you. So it's basically two questions. Should pastors be involved? Should they give approval? I think firstly, to protect the ministry, I should first say pastors ideally should be custodians of our theology, like of our Adventism. When we look at them, we should find advice about anything. When they've done it right, we should pick up from them. I haven't answered the question yet, but I'm protecting them and their work. So to say that pastors should be involved or should not be involved is a tricky question. It's a yes or no. To some extent, there are pastors who are passionate about young people, their relationships, and they've done well. We've seen them, we've loved them, they've done well. But there's pastors who have no interest, particularly in relationships or young people. So where I'm going is, the ministry of pastors is as wide as there are careers. If we say pastors should be involved, now we are building the pastor that has no passion in ministry to now crash people's relations because he has no passion, but you are adding to his scope of work. So not all of them should be involved. I think that should be my disclaimer. Those that have passion. So, but the question seeks to ask that should we have advisors? Yes, it is important when we go into relationships, like anything in life, to always have somebody to look up to. It might not necessarily be a pastor, but somebody that can. So somewhere there.
Linda, you're being politically correct, man. Okay, should a pastor be involved in your relationship?
Should a pastor be involved in mine? Let's go to the second question. Should pastors give approval of relationship? Let me make an example now.
All right.
Adam had not sinned in the Garden of Eden. So at that point, although we assume he was the most intelligent person at that point, but God does not give him the right to choose a wife, but he was well enough to intelligence had no sin, but God does not give him the right to choose a wife. In that regard, I would say if pastors were at that level, they should come in as like Christ, choose a wife for Adam. But we are in a sinful world. God could not. It's a bit tricky where I'm trying to go, but I don't think pastors should then be allowed to choose for his wives like God did. Because now, unlike Adam only had one choice, which was Eve. For us, it's a bit tricky. The choices are wider. So if we stick to Adam's choice, it might not be my choice. So I would Not
Hey.
so there, I think
very
I
tricky. Very
so,
tricky one.
so it's a yes or no for me. Basically.
At that note, let's go for a break. You know what? We're gonna unpack this issue a little bit more after the break. You can interact with us on TCG, on SID. That's the hashtag. Let us know what you think. Perhaps you can even share your dating stories with us. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching The Chosen Generation, and we are discussing the topic of Mjolo. You can share your views with us. The hashtag is TCG on SID. Let's go into the discussion. I think the first person that I'm going to start with, I'll start with you, Lunga.
Yes.
Do you think there is pressure on Christian young people to date the quote-unquote biblical way?
Okay, I think there is the pressure, yes or no. I think there is pressure, but I think the times we live in has made things so much different. Back then, there's always that thing, or what will the family say, or what are the church members saying. But now we live in a time where we are concerned what they say, but we've been taught to do what suits you, like what you feel is right. Now we're in a space where how you feel, or your decisions are yours alone, things like that. So now, if we would agree with there is pressure, we can agree with pressure is slightly lower than it was before, like, because now we're young people who make our own decisions and things like that. But pressure was mostly on what people think. Will the society approve of this person, or am I moving out of what I was taught and things like that? But now it's not that much. You must marry now and things like that. I think we're more liberal these days than prior. Yeah? So there's not a lot of pressure than before.
I think Joy, Lunga speaks about how society now is about how I feel and what works for me and stuff like that. And I think that's a perfect setup for the question I'm going to ask you. And I mean, simply, should we therefore then look out of ourselves and pray for our partners? Do you believe that I need to pray? Even for things like how he must look, his build, or even for a partner, Jay, just having a partner. What is your view on that as a process that young people should follow?
So my answer will be to a specific audience.
Okay.
I would be speaking specifically about Christians, not everybody. Specifically Christians, and even then, I think my answer may not be taken by everyone.
Okay.
This is just my personal opinion. Listen, I didn't read this in the Bible, okay? But I don't think that you should pray for your partner. I think you should pray, and I'm not saying this to like try and sound holy. I'm not, right? But in my experience, I've learned that it's better to pray for God's will to be done, because you may not get married.
Okay.
And not everyone's going to get married. And if it's a desire of yours, it's good. But if it becomes a thing that you just need, you just gotta get married, it may put a lot of pressure on you. You may get desperate and make steps that are not particularly the best steps for you, especially as you get older, and you've been praying for years for this partner who never shows up. You may drop your standards. That's one side of it. On the other hand, you may, you've dropped your standards, so you just go with whomever is willing.
Yeah, Linda, Joy is speaking about God's will, and let's say there's a young person who feels that God, I mean, it's God's will for them to get into this, and they have the hope and desire, she has said, those things to get into courtship. She spoke about one principle. What are the principles that are involved in courtship? Yeah. If you can speak on those principles, yeah.
I think to give the principle, the first thing we must be able to do is what we started with: distinguish dating from courtship. With dating, there's no boundaries that much. There's no rule book. It's I'm trying out things. But with courtship, it's more now you settled. Now you are in an intention to get married. Now this must be more serious. With dating, you can go meander, go around, decide not. But with courtship, now you are literally saying, I might marry this person. So your attitude toward that person and life changes. You start, but it's not marriage. That's where I think sometimes we miss it, because the reason we don't reach marriage, because we now take courtship as if we do things in courtship that are supposed to be done in marriage. Then we miss the marriage, but it's not. It's too different. This is an intention path to marriage. So you are working towards something you are not at yet. So when you are there, courtship ends, but the joys of that person you don't lose. That's the person you chose to marry. So with courtship, I used Adventist Home, chapter 7, 8, and lot for the principles. They mention things like spending midnight, like night times together. Those things don't make sense to us because we chat. We've been chatting from Mixit. We had problems when WhatsApp was down. But those things are, I used to have a problem with WhatsApp because you are easily accessible. That's my challenge. But there are many other things that come with just being up the whole night with someone. You lose focus in life. You lose the sense of, like, everything is too casual. When you get to courtship, your casualness ends. You must be more so having to announce your relation. That's another point that comes up, where you now tell your parents, this is you don't hide. I'm going out, I'm going to the movie. They don't know who you're going. If you are intending to be with this person, you must start working out if it's going to work with the rest of the family. So there must be someone that knows who you're spending time with, why you're spending time. So another word that keeps coming in that book is there must be a purpose single to God's glory. So whatever you are building must be, is this relationship fulfilling whatever God wants in our lives? If it doesn't, you must start questioning. So those are things you build within courtship. You work towards those. So I think those are basic things that you look at while you're in courtship. My biggest point is that you are not married. You're not. So you do away with now, because you're courting, you buy a house, you want to move into the person. It's going to create challenges at the end. So you are working. Sometimes when we start courting, we think we must marry the person, but there's nothing wrong if it never leads to marriage. So you don't want to do things that you will regret if it never works out. So do it fully in its own purpose. If the next step comes, you will enjoy it without having taken from the future, if that makes sense.
In fact, in that very same chapter, common courtship practices,
Practice 18.
She also mentions the issue that if you go and approach a lady without the knowledge of the parents, it's actually theft.
Yes,
And
deception.
but anyway, we'll talk about this after the break. Stay tuned. You can also share your views with us on TCG on SID. Let us know what you think. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Chosen Generation. We are still talking about Mjolo, and you can also share your views with us. The hashtag is TCG on SID. Let us know what your experience is. Back to the discussion at hand. I will start with you, Lunga, on this last segment. There's the issue of intimacy. And knowing each other, sexual intimacy, and stuff like that. Are you of the view that there should be a or if you like, that intimacy is a essential part in the relationship, that it makes the relationship better, and that we must engage in that in the process of dating or in the experience of dating.
Yeah, I think first there's that understanding what if we engage or are intimate, like or engage in sexual activity, we become closer and understand the person. But I think there's also that understanding first. But then the question, should we engage in such? I think it's clear, like the answer can't be yes or no. It's a no. Which I think personally, if anyone quotes me on this, I think we should not engage in sexual activities while we're courting or before marriage. Why? I think earlier on we spoke of how you start stealing fruits of the future while you're here. What happens now, maybe I'm not being realistic, but it happens, you're with this person all the time. I think that's where the challenge starts. Now you've started spending time with this person. And okay, there are many factors you can blame. There's how we're raised in society, and some things are hidden away. And at the time when I'm older and then I discover these things, or I don't discover, like some things I hit when I discover them, now I want to engage in them. Or there's so much that our society, or not society per se, but there's so much, like growing up, I could be taught like carpentry skills or things like that in my small environment, that when I'm older, I know there's so much I can do, and then I don't rush it. Maybe let's bring it back to a relationship setup. I think I think the purpose of initiating the relationship should always be clear.
Okay.
I think if that's lost, then you find yourself losing activities you can do, because you're always chasing, what can we do? We've been skydiving, we've done 1, 2, 3. And now you find yourself, your list is running out. And then what's going to happen next? Then you realize, okay, this is what we've not done. So I think those are other things. When we've both been in this, when decided we're doing this, we should not then have a list of things to do. But we were always wanting, okay, the target is to get to marriage. And when we get to marriage, and then maybe one of the things accompanied with marriage or sealed with marriage can be sexual intimacy. But when we've decided, okay, we're in this thing, we're moving towards this.
But basically what you're saying is that there shouldn't be any word or deed that will bring dishonor to God, basically.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right, fine. Joy, maybe I should bring you in here. You spoke about this a little bit more, earlier, but I just want to get more on this view or this expectation that I'm going to get married and that I must get married. Why do you think that is a wrong view to have, that marriage is a process of life that will happen for everyone?
Look, it is a natural part of life.
Okay.
From marriage comes procreation. You don't have to be married to procreate, but generally speaking, humanity has done well in family settings, and those historically have been marriage settings, So you get married, you have a family, the family grows, your kids get married, then, and then it's a family. And then, but I think the church specifically got really preoccupied at some point with the idea of getting married at the expense of being single. Right? It's good to be married, right? But the Bible also speaks, Paul also speaks about being single, and in one of his letters, he speaks about wishing that everyone would stay single so that the gospel could be preached. Because there's a certain freedom that you get from being single, where you can, if you wake up one day and it's impressed upon your heart by God to get up and go to some place and do some work for him. It's a lot easier to do that when you're single. If you're married and you have a family, it's a good thing, it's a gift from God, but it limits your movement in terms of just going places, people can do that if they have the finances to uproot their entire family, but you got to remember, your family also have lives outside of your life. So if you're ready to go someplace and they're not, it'll affect them somehow.
Becomes a problem. Maybe I should bring you in here, Linda. I want to transpose this conversation and bring another aspect. What are your views? Should we be allowed to date people from other denominations?
Well, when I was leading the students in a STASM setting, I always used to say, we should not be equally yoked. The response always comes unequally yoked. Yes, thank you. Then the response comes, we've seen other people where it's been successful and the partners join the church, and this could be another form of church growth. And I still say to them, we should not go in that direction. Because as a church, we know what happens when you break up with a fellow Adventist. You both grow up in the same tenets of faith. So if he decides to go otherwise, his being tells him he's losing it. You don't need to explain why you are in this particular faith. Now, when you go to a person of another denomination, I'm not saying it won't work, but what I'm saying is the foundations of your faith are a bit different. So you might not see God in the same light. Your ways of dealing with problems, I think the two major things that keep relationships going or that kill relationships, communication, conflict resolution. If you have a relationship that has those two things going very well, you guys are good to go. But if you challenge to deal with those two things, the relationship doesn't exist. So if you are from different denominations, the way you communicate is built from different tenets. The way you solve conflicts is from different viewpoints. So already your foundation is at a disadvantage. I'm not saying it won't work. What I'm saying is it is better. We have a way to help when it fails in-house. Out-house, you will create new problems that we must still research. So for your own sake, let's keep it in. When the evangelism program has worked externally and the member is now ours, it's safer for you. So
Okay.
I think that's where my response is.
All right. Wow. Look, we've run out of time. And we haven't even started to discuss what we wanted to, but it's okay. I would like to thank you for availing yourself for this discussion. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And perhaps to our viewers at home, we like to thank you for inviting us into your space, and we hope that we will see you again in the coming up shows. And maybe a final word. You know, like the pandemic that is going on, we ought to take personal protective steps so that we don't get infected. And similarly, even with the pandemic of Mjolo, we also need to protect ourselves. And the word says we need to guard our hearts diligently. Yes. And I think we should sacrifice our hearts to Jesus Christ because he is the one who can protect them, because he saves, he sanctifies, and he satisfies. Don't forget to share your comments with us. The hashtag is still TCG on SID. Let us know what you think, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is the SID Media on YouTube. And yeah, that's it for today. Really enjoyed having you with us, and from me and the team, goodbye. See you next week.